Hey, my name is Liam. At the beginning of this semester, I started with one business idea, but I ended up with like a completely different one. My entrepreneurial journey didn't follow a straight line, but that's exactly what exec process taught me to test ideas, listen to customers, and let their emotions guide where the business needed to go. At the beginning of the semester, I came in convinced that I wanted to build something related to real estate, like specifically historic tax credit consulting. I grew up around real estate and real estate development, so it just felt right. I'm also a real estate major. But the more like I explored it, I more realized like the customers I would need to reach, developers, architects, and investors, weren't really easily accessible. And on top of that, like the emotional connection just wasn't there. Nobody I talked to one guy, and I didn't really feel like a strong point that made them say yes. Like I need this now when I pitched it to them. Um, so then during one of our exercises, I tried listening to like my personal frustrations. The biggest one that hit me immediately was that I personally have to pay extra every month for like a poorly designed property management app that my landlord uses, and it's really frustrating. Like it's an extra $25 a month just for them to use this app. I just think it sucks. So that frustration just made me wonder if this annoys me as a tenant. How do like small self managing landlords feel? So that moment like completely shifted my business model. Instead of chasing historic tax credits, um, I moved towards solving a real emotional everyday problem, helping like landlords and tenants communicate, pay rent, and manage their properties without the expense or confusing software. So that's where I came up with LeaseLink. Um, and the role, I'll talk about the role the customer emotions played in shaping my business. Emotions ended up being the most important signal throughout this project. When I interviewed the property manager here, I noticed something that like small landlords feel overwhelmed, undersupported, and ignored by like the big software companies. Because these smaller landlords, I mean, they are getting their properties on a mortgage and they have to pay back the mortgage, and just these extra cost makes it hard to break even. So that's why they put the price of these apps onto their tenants. So the landlord told me that they felt like nickel and dimed or treated like an afterthought when trying to use platforms built for large companies like Appfolio. They were stressed about late payments, confused tenants, and maintenance communication falling through the cracks as well. And on the tenant side, like I'm just frustrated with fees and outdated interfaces. Um, and like the one that my property manager uses just lacks transparency. And what surprised me was how strong these emotions were. They weren't neutral. They weren't mild. They were genuine pain points. Um, these reactions really just validated that I wasn't just creating an app, but I was also solving like emotional problems with stress financially. Um, Experimentation played a big role in this. It was definitely a second major driver point for me. I ran quick tests, simple landing pages, rough sketches of features, and basic like customer interviews instead of building anything really. Every experiment really just taught me something like personally, I don't really care about like fancy dashboards. I just rent reminders and like a way to track maintenance is really all that you need. Um, and how I would use like customer emotions and experimentation differently next time is if I restarted this process, I would lean into like customer emotions even earlier because I felt like half the semester I was just focusing on like a historic tax credit business, which really wasn't too like emotional. Um, so I mean, in conclusion, like this semester just taught me that entrepreneurship isn't about starting with the right idea; it's about finding the right problem. I began with a technical, unemotional idea, around historic tax credits, which no one really needed a historic tax credit consultant. But through like customer conversations and experimentation, I discovered like a real emotional need within a group that I understand well: small landlords and their tenants. Thank you.